Well, now's the second to last video in this series. In this video I will finish the paddle, which is kind of cool. The next thing to do is put my maker's mark on it. And I think a maker's mark is fairly important. It gives one a chance to personalize their works, to identify their works. I've been using this drawing of Mount Monadnock as my maker's mark. Mount Monadnock is in southern New Hampshire. It's near where I lived. It's the tallest peak around, and it's, according to Wikipedia, is often cited as the most climbed mountain in the United States. And I guess it gets very crowded during foliage season, though. I've never climbed it. Someday I will. I drew this not because I'm good at drawing, but I got a photograph of it and just traced out what looked like contour lines. And now I'll be transferring this to the paddle and then wood burning it in. So step one is to get this all inked up, penciled up. I used to tape this directly on and burn through the paper, and I didn't like it because you couldn't watch what you were doing. And I was talking to my wife about it, and it's her paddle, and she's used a technique in the past where you transfer pencil ink. I'm sorry, pencil lead. Sorry, not ink. So let's get that done now. We turn it over. I see where I am, and I start just laying down a lot of pencil. Yeah, I'm covering it really well. I want to stop the video now because this is going to be a several minute job to get this done, and you don't want to watch that. So I'm done. And I went this way, and then I went this way to get a double coating on it, to get it nice and dark. And this is just a regular pencil, by the way. And then it would periodically, I'd hold up the light where I'm looking, you're seeing the pencil here, I'm seeing the laser printed lines. I can see that I've got full coverage, and I doubt you'll be able to see that, but maybe, who knows. Next step is to tape it to this, and I'll stop the camera for that. I've cut it out and laid it on here, and it looks good. You know, there's no measuring to this. It's just do it by eye. How do I think that it feels correct? I also looked at the four faces of the paddle to see which one had the best looking grains. Remember, I have flat sawn wood here, not quarter sawn. It doesn't. None of it's going to look good, but it's good enough, right? Let's tape it up. It's all taped up now. I'm going to start the tracing. I'm going to press down hard and make sure the pencil line shows up underneath it. The only hard part is I got to remember where I go, particularly when I'm in here, and I don't want to miss one of the lines. So we'll start down here. I'm just going to press hard, and I break my pencil already. Probably notice I'm using a regular pencil, not my 4B mechanical that I liked, because I do have to press hard, but I still broke it. So let's press hard again and break it again. Let's go to the 4B. The paper's a little bumpy here because that's where I ended up the taping, but it's not bumpy down there. I'm going to follow the main line all the way over the top now. The top line's done. I should have mentioned this before. Notice how it's taped quite a lot, all around the sides, because I don't want this shifting when I'm doing it. Let's go do some more lines. You can feel the pencil sort of digging into the cedar. wants to go with the grain and not cross the grain. Mount Monadnock represents a real ecological disaster. In the 1800s, the settlers set fire to the lower elevations, trying to clear it for farming. And the fire got out of control and burned the whole mountain to the ground, I guess. Not to the ground, obviously, burned all the wood off of it. And that caused a lot of the topsoil, particularly the top, to blow away. And I guess 10 or 20 years later, thinking that wolves were making dens on the lower slopes, they burnt it down again. And whereas the peak's only 3,000 or so feet, 3,100 I think, from 2,000 up it's barren, it's just granite, which makes for great views, which is probably why it's climbed. But it just represents an ecological disaster back when people didn't know any better. It's that quote, I think the deer fears the wolves, but the mountain fears the deer. And I'll put a link to the guy that said that. It's a great short essay to read. I really recommend it. And here, the mountain feared humans. Okay, let's see if it worked. Sweet, look at that. It's very hard to see, but it can be seen. I'm going to stop the camera now and set up the wood burn equipment. That takes some time to heat up. Okay, it's heated up. It only takes about 5 minutes or so to heat up. I'm using you can see it good. I'm using a cheap Weller. I don't think this even costs $25, $30. It's possible. It will fall. I want my table. It's possible you could use a soldering iron, a good one, if you turn it down low enough. I was going to test that today to see if it was possible, but not. Just Google wood burning on YouTube and see what you find out. To see if it's hot enough, grab a chunk of junk wood and just start drawing. Remember, this gets very hot, so be really careful with it. And nice dark thick line. Notice I'm going with the grain there, and it's really easy. Let's try and go across the grain. And see how it's fighting me? So it's going to be hard to get the mountain exactly like the drawing, but hey, who cares? Go back in and fill in the stuff that didn't take. Okay, let's give this a shot. I want to change my glasses. If you remember in early videos, I was always taking my glasses off and looking close. That's because I was super nearsighted, and so it meant I had magic close-up vision. I've since had cataract surgery, and I've lost my magic close-up vision, but I have these. Got these off of Amazon. These are just readers, but they're +6. They're actually magnifying glasses, so I'll be using them. Moment of truth. Heat this. See what's happening here. It's not to be unexpected. The linseed oil is melting. I cannot recall on my previous paddle what I did if I wood burnt it, then put the linseed oil on. Hopefully this will work out well and I won't have wrecked it. There's no erase here. It's spooky scary doing this. Like, that's a mistake, but oh well. think I just gave it a new peak. I'm going back over it here because I noticed what's happening is I'm melting or liquefying the boiled linseed oil, and I'm not burning the wood. I want the wood to be nice and dark here. Just go retrace it. Probably should have done this in a well-ventilated room since that stuff's burning off. Oh well. Notice I'm going from right to left, not left to right. That's so I can see the pencil line. If I'm like this, I wouldn't see where I'm going. Now I'll be looking for places where I've missed. It's really hard to tell because the oil just melts instantly and stains the wood darker. So I got to look to see if the wood's actually burnt there, if it's just oil. This is getting very hot in the hand. Oh, Jesus. Oops. Don't press down. That's interesting. I was always going forward. Going backward, it burns much faster. Much faster. Get nice, thick, dark lines that way, though. Well, I'd have to say that turned out fairly well. It's nice and dark. I don't know how the boiled linseed oil that melted. I don't know if I should wipe it down with a rag or dab at it with a paper towel. Maybe I'll try that, see what happens. Let's try it. The temptation here is just to wipe it like I'm wiping up oil, but I don't want to smear it in case the oil got a little discolored. So I'm going to take this rag, nice shop rag that I have, I'm just going to roll it along the surface and hopefully it'll pick up oil. It actually is nice. Not doing as good a job as I'd like. Sticking it, but even wonderful. Okay, that actually mostly worked. Pleased about that. We're almost done. The next step is to give it another coat of boiled linseed oil, and that's for two reasons. One, I always expected to do that. I thought that I might get some melt here, and I'm going to give it a nice, get rid of any visual imperfections here. But the sad fact is also there's spots when I was applying the epoxy tips, I didn't clamp it carefully, and the finish got marred there. So I knew even back then I'd be doing one final coat. Let's go see about doing that now. I'm out here in the garage again, of course, because this is smelly and drippy. I don't want to put it on the basement floor. I got my tarp down, got my gloves on. I have some boiled linseed oil here, just like before. Got to open that up. And I have some rags. These are an old pillowcase I just cut up. I'm using rags, not sandpaper now, because it doesn't need any additional smoothing out. It was last wet sanded with 400 sandpaper, I think. So I just want to get a nice coat on to clean this area up and repair some of the smudges I got from improper clamping. Right there is one of the clamp spots, and of course it doesn't do much. Oh well, it's worth a try. Just want to get some of that end grain in there. I've probably put on too much already, but I'll wipe it off with a clean rag when I'm done. Oh, there it is. That makes me happy. And that's it. The paddle is done. I'm so happy about that. But there's one more video coming, and I'm going to tease you again because I'm just that sort of guy. Till then. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Just in case you didn't see it in other videos, this is nasty stuff. These rags need to be treated specially. If I were to just crumple them up, throw them in the trash can, they will burst into flame. You need to spread them out in the sun to dry. Okay, spread out, they're fine. Crumpled, bad. Careful with this stuff.